Hello and welcome to the Big Debate. I'm your host, Iguma Gabriel. Glad that you can join us for this edition of the show. Now, education is considered a key tool for growth and development worldwide, and for Uganda in particular. However, there's been a lot of uncertainty as schools stayed partially closed. In fact, the education sector stayed partially closed because of restrictions from COVID-19. Well, the long wait ended today when the Minister of Education and Sports, also the First Lady of Uganda, the Honorable Janet Kataha Museveni, announced that the institutions that have been closed will open on the 10th of January 2022 to receive learners. Now, this announcement was received with joy, but also caused quite a bit of anticipation and anxiety because since schools have been closed, preparation time between now and the 1st of January, on the 10th of January, how ready will schools be for receiving learners? But also you will recall that in August, the National Planning Authority stated that about 3,507 primary schools and 832 secondary schools are most likely going to stay closed because they cannot run their operations. Are the learners ready? Are the schools ready? Are the teachers ready? Well, that's what we discuss on the Big Debate today. But let's start by meeting our panelists.
Dr. Joyce Mwariku Kaduchu is a Ugandan pediatrician, academic and politician. She's now the State Minister for Primary Education in the new cabinet. Previously, she was the State Minister for Primary Healthcare. She's also the elected Member of Parliament of Moyo District representing the women. Dr. Kaduchu has a Bachelor of Medicine and a Bachelor of Surgery, a postgraduate diploma in Project Planning and Management from Gulu University, a Master of Medicine in Pediatrics, and a PhD in Neuroscience. Richard Sebamala is a Ugandan civil engineer, businessman and politician who serves as a Member of Parliament representing Bukoto Central Constituency in the 11th Parliament. He's a member of the Democratic Party. Sebamala joined Chambogo University where he graduated with a bachelor's degree in engineering. He also has a master's in leadership and management from the Uganda Management Institute. Dr. Mary Goreti Nakabugo is the executive director of Uwezo Uganda, a not-for-profit organization working to promote equitable, quality education in Uganda and beyond through research, learning assessments, innovations, partnerships, and advocacy. Previously, she was Twaweza Country Lead and Regional Manager of Uwezo East Africa. Her prior work experience has mainly been in higher education. She was a Senior Lecturer of Higher Education at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa, and a Senior Lecturer and Head of Department of Curriculum, Teaching, and Media at Makerere University. Christopher Mgwane is a seasoned primary teacher who has been in the profession since 1995. He holds a bachelor's degree in education, a master's in business management from Makerere University. He is also the proprietor of Clever's Origin Schools and the national treasurer of the Proprietors of Private Education Institutions Association, Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, our panelists.
There you go. Those are the panelists for the Big Debate today. And I would like you to engage with us and with the panelists. So please, if you're using social media, remember that the hashtag is SEETV Big Debate. We'd like to benefit from your questions and your comments. So tag us and also use that hashtag. We're streaming live on our website. You can visit our website and just click the live button. You'll be able to follow the discussion. Well, Honorable Minister, would like to begin with you because some of our viewers could have missed the big announcement and may not even know that, the Ministry of Education has come up with a roadmap on how schools will be resuming for physical, attendance. Could you just give us a summary of, what you have planned for the education sector in regard to reopening?
Thank you so much. I just want to take us back from the onset of COVID-19. That was way back 2020. When COVID-19 was declared by WHO as a pandemic, and WHO requested all member states to put in place measures to prevent, control, and mitigate the virus. And the government of Uganda, under the leadership of His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, set in quickly the National Task Force. And among the measures that was put in place to prevent, control, and mitigate the infection was the closure of schools. And recall way back last year on 20th March 2020, all learning institutions were closed. And this was basically in a measure to reduce the spread of the infection and to control the spread of infection. And from that time, this closure affected over 15 million learners. And 150,000 teachers, tutors, and lecturers were as well affected. And because of the close of schools, it has disrupted the normal, a lot of disruption in the human resource to the learners, the teachers, and everybody. It has affected the infrastructure as well. Now, from the time the first lockdown and the first close of schools, the reopening started way back October 2020. That was when we reopened in a phased manner, beginning with the candidate classes and the finalists, in order to enable them to complete their education cycle. And that took us up to the time then we had the second lockdown. That was in June 2021. And from the time when we had the second lockdown, when all the learning institutions were closed in June 2021, we immediately started reopening in a phased manner. And from that time, the first institutions to be reopened were the health training institutions. They were opened in August 13th, 2021. After that, we had the universities and the tertiary institutions that were opened on the 2nd of November 2021. And the third phase reopening now that we are long awaited to see that it is open, the basic and the secondary education. Now, from the time we had the second lockdown and the second close of schools, we plan to reopen in a phased manner. We can see in a categorically, starting with the health training institutions, moving to the university and tertiary, and now we are moving to the basic and secondary education. What is the roadmap? Before we go to the roadmap, the fundamental principle underlining the reopening: one, we need safety of the learners. We need safety of the learning environment. Two, we need to reopen in a sustainable manner, regardless of what is coming tomorrow. Our wish and prayers is that once we reopen, we do not want to see this close and open, close and open. We want a sustainable way of sustainable way in running this learning institution. So those are the guiding principles. And lastly, the vaccination exercise has been one of the key priority guiding our learning, our reopening in a phased manner. We believe by now over 70% of the teachers, tutors, and the lecturers have been vaccinated, as well as the children. Now that we have a clear roadmap for the basic and the secondary school, I think I want to call upon everybody. Education is a right. Education is a shared responsibility. Article 30 of the Constitution of Uganda provided for education being a right. Everybody has got a right to education. And Education Act of 2008 of the Ministry of Education provided for that education is a shared responsibility. Government has got a responsibility, parents have got a responsibility, and community, partners, everybody is now called upon. Let's come together, look at this roadmap and see what we can put in place so that we have a safe and sustainable reopening of the basic and secondary schools.
All right. Well, what makes you certain, because you've used the word sustainable, what makes you certain that, we won't have another closure, yet, the disease is unpredictable?
One thing we've been right from the beginning, that this coronavirus, for us to have the economy open, for us to have everybody live as we've been doing before we should attain some level of herd immunity or community immunity. This immunity is acquired either, one of the most effective way is through vaccination, or else you have to acquire when you subject the population to the infection. But the possibility that you may lose quite many people, that is not the safest way. The safest is through vaccination. Now that quite a huge population of Ugandans have embraced vaccination and they are vaccinated, that gives a lot of hope and confidence that our people are now building herd immunity, or we are now developing immunity towards the virus.
All right.
And that alone is not enough, but we need to mix it up with SOP. So because of that, we are very optimistic this time round. The story of closing, opening, I believe we have learned a lot, and we are now really quite experienced in terms of controlling the infection.
All right, I'd like to bring the teacher in, but just before I do, you set the date of 10th of January 2022. Do you believe this gives schools enough time to prepare to receive the learners?
Absolutely. We've been preparing all along. We've been having series of preparation in terms of meeting, in terms of planning, in terms of discussion. Now it is time to walk the talk. We've done a lot in terms of preparation. Now it is time to get to the talking. I mean by that, we need to get to the practical part of it. We have started in terms of looking at training of the teachers, in terms of getting them to the curriculum, psychosocial therapy, talking them through surveillance process, in terms of looking at the infrastructure. What is it that we can do to give a facelift? What can we do to the structure to bring some life to this structure? Looking at the water, electricity, probably the roads, the environment of the school. This is the time to get to do the actual work.
All right.
So I am very sure, much as we are starting on the 10th is basically to receive the children into the classroom. But before that, we've given adequate time, a week or two, most after the festival, even before. We're expecting head teachers to invite the teachers. We start lesson planning, scheming, preparation, and we need to start doing renovations. Even by this time, some schools have started. If the desks that are not being okay, if they're probably, it may not be 100%, but at least something has started, and we continue to improve until we reach there.
Well, Mr. Mugwanya, you did hear, I'm sure you followed, the First Lady today, and you definitely have been receiving many phone calls from your members. How is the education fraternity receiving this news, and from where the minister has ended off, are you ready come January 10th, 2022?
Thank you very much. Let me first take this opportunity to thank the management of SEETV for this great opportunity of inviting us and share some knowledge with the viewers. And I also take this opportunity to thank His Excellency, the President, for having kept his word, because as been addressing the nation, he has been promising to open the schools. Before this roadmap, we are still doubtful, but I want to thank him through our minister. She's my minister because I'm a primary teacher. I'm so grateful to be on the same panel with her. and honorable. I'm so grateful to be with you here. So this news is bringing some hope to teachers, the parents, and everyone. When I recall, I quoted the Bible. It was the time of the floods, and Noah sent a certain bird to see whether the rain had stopped. The bird which was sent first did not come back, and then he again sent the dove, but the dove came back with a branch of tree. That was a sign to show that there was hope of life, sign of life again. Our receiving this roadmap, the timetable, definitely gives us hope that we shall have to go to school again, and we shall have to teach our children, and education will be very normal. I know the time may not be enough, but we thank God that the little time we have.
You are taking what you've been given.
Yeah, we shall take what
unless the little is taken away.
Yeah. We shall take what we have been given, and we want to assure the ministry through our minister that we shall have to make sure that there is no closing again, as you have told us.
All right.
We shall have safety, and we shall have to sustain the program.
Actually,
the ministry, we have been trained. Even the training is going on, and I want to call upon the teachers. First of all, I thank them. I think among the groups that have responded to vaccination, teachers must be leading. Even the 75 our ministers quoted, maybe the 25 are no longer in the system, but the teachers have done very, very well. If there is any teacher outside there or any person working in school, I request you to use this opportunity to go for vaccination. But we want to assure the government through our minister that we shall follow the SOPs, and we shall keep our children very safe, and we shall support the government to ensure that the learning is continuous.
All right. You talk about the schools, making sure that they are. When you're making sure that the schools are ready,
yes.
And one of the problems the last time was that whereas they had asked you to put certain things in place, it seems like these things were not put in place, and now they're requiring even more. And requiring that the head teacher or whoever heads the institution is the one in charge of these things being put in place.
Yep.
Will the schools actually manage, even as you grapple, with financial issues?
Thank you very, very much. The mistakes that were seen at first, I think, gave us a lot to learn. We don't want to blame anyone, because it was a new problem, it was a new challenge, and none of us had ever handled it before. But I'm sure we learned a lot from the previous mistakes.
Now you've learned, huh?
Okay,
we'll get into the details of what you've learned
right.
A little later. I'd like now to go to Honorable Richard Sebamala, MP, Bukoto Central. Honorable, you've been pushing from the side of Parliament. How did you receive this announcement of the roadmap of reopening the parts of the education sector that had stayed closed?
It's true, and my minister knows that education is the only light, is the only hope that this nation has. There is nothing that you can offer your child apart from giving them education. There's not a lot of money that you can leave behind without education that anyone can take care of. They say some people have gotten rich even without education. But education is a plus. It may not be success, but it is an addition. It's a fundamental principle. We have been pushing because our children are at home. Many have gotten pregnant. Our children have learnt drugs, and our children have learnt how to get easy money. He goes around to do a few things, and then he gets some simple money to change to use here and there. Our children have gotten into funny social groups peer groups, because you remember these are adolescents that we are working with, and the young ones are also tired of being home. So they have had the same environment. For those that even have fences around their houses, they have had the same environment for the last 2 years. And you really feel they are stressed. They want to go out. They almost want to go with you to parliament every day. Can I go with you? Those are the questions that they have started asking. Even the young ones, 10-year-old, 8, 4, they keep asking, can we go together?
We've been driving them around the neighborhood.
Yeah, no, driving them around if you have a car.
Or you walk with them, and then take them back.
Yeah. For those that, for the students or the kids that are in the villages, they have been playing since the school stopped 2 years ago till today. They have been playing. Then you look at the teachers, they have decided to get alternatives. Some are bricklaying, some are on borders, some are in saloons. Others have gotten better jobs, white-collar jobs in banks. Others, everyone, and those are a few, because even banks cut off working hours. We are looking at parents where they don't have money. Very many parents have lost their jobs. Others work in the night. We've had curfew and they cannot work. So they are poor at the moment. We've looked at those that have the money and they have advanced their children with technology. I mean, their kids kept, studying. I don't know using which curriculum now, but they kept studying, and their kids even got promoted. I have schools that I know children got, reports that they are promoted to the next class, and they have been studying here in Kampala, all in the towns, not in the villages. So we look at the school proprietors as those that have sold off most of their schools. Very many people have sold off schools. Schools has been one of the school selling has been one of the lucrative business that has been around. Everyone has a loan. The banks are taking their things, and they are choking with debt.
Okay.
And we look at all these fears that have gotten this sense, this message today.
Okay.
And everyone, some are excited. Most people are excited about going back to school. As students want to meet their friends again. Teachers, some want to go back to school, others are stuck within it's a rock and a hard place, whether the job they are doing now is better than the one they did the other time, or they should go back to school and teach, or they should do both. Parents, some have decided, since these 2 years, they have saved some money and bought a border, maybe bought a piece of land, maybe did this. So they feel like, but I didn't go to school. Can't these kids also stay around? Or can't I put them in a cheaper school? They have learned to see, they have learned to see the amount of money they were investing in education, which they were not seeing before. Because this was a routine. He gets his salary, he pays for the firstborn. Gets his salary, pays for the second. Gets his salary, buys this. Now, this time when, kids were out of school is when he has not, so in this 1 year, this is the much that I spend on these kids. Can I save better? So we are looking at, but also people have learned that they should learn skilling. That skilling should be part of the curriculum.
All right.
of the country. So this is where we are. So this news has reached us, and we are happy and excited to see our kids go back to school. For those that can afford, we are looking at the ministry to see whether it is putting in a stimulus for some schools, or to...
Actually, MPs were pushing for stimulus at some point.
Yes, and we are still
about
pushing.
100 million shillings. Where will that money come from?
100 million per school. That one is actually very little money. But there's need for us for schools to get stimulus. Teachers know very well.
The minister today basically said, that one, no.
Yeah, everything starts with a political will. When we hit a rock, is when she will wake up to have known that this money was needed. Those schools have debts with power, and this debt is going to go to the parent. Those, as in services, water and the rest, renovations, they have a lot of problems, because the people that are pushing for stimulus are not the teachers and the students and the parents. It is the school proprietors.
All right.
And what they want.
The minister touched on, what they're going to do about utilities and the conversations they're in with the service providers. But we will come to that. The minister.
The problem there is wanting to do everything centrally. Why do you want to keep the money on yourself when the problem is with the school? Let me take care of my problem. Let me know that this teacher has a problem here. Because I'm the one to give incentives. The money should be given to the. I give incentives. You give me 100 million. It is me to say, let me give an incentive to a teacher. Let me do this to repair this customer. But the problem with government is keeping everything central.
All right.
Why do you want to keep everything on you?
Let's bring into the discussion a guest who is joining us virtually, Dr. Nakabugo, who is currently at her home. I hope you can hear us.
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Excellent. The team is also going to make sure that we can also hear you. I hope you were able to follow the discussion we've had so far in the studio. And we'd just like to hear first your initial thoughts.
Not really, actually.
Oh.
I've just connected, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Each of the panelists was just giving us their initial thoughts of the big announcement today that schools, those that have stayed closed, will reopen starting the 10th of January 2022. And then if you'd give us, your view on that, and then a brief assessment of government's plan to get the sector up and running.
Okay. Thank you very much, Gabriel. And I get an echo back.
Sorry about that. The team is going to fix that, but we can hear you. If you can just go ahead and give your view.
Can you hear me very well, Gabriel?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
I think. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, and good evening, viewers, and great to connect with the other panelists, the Honorable Minister of Education and other colleagues. I think reopening of schools, to be honest, anyone who is interested in the future of this country would be excited about the good news of the reopening of schools. Schools should have reopened yesterday. So having that plan, that confirmation from the Minister of Education and Sports that come 10th January, schools will reopen, it's really good news for everyone. I think in a way one gets some mixed feelings. I think reopening, great. I think the question would be, how ready are we for the reopening? But we cannot get ready by keeping schools closed. So let us get ready as the plans. It's unfortunately that I missed the beginning of the show. Perhaps the Minister of Education and the Minister of State, Honorable Dr. Kaduchu, has already elaborated on the plans that are in place. But I know that there are trainings that are going on to prepare teachers for the abridged curriculum. I mean, as a public, and I work in the civil society, I mean, we would have been very keen to also see what that curriculum is all about. And I think it's now less than a month, actually, to reopen. I think we get a little bit nervous. Will every teacher have been reached to be prepared so that there is no panic? Because we know that actually everybody has been affected in this. The children have been affected. I mean, having been home for almost 2 years, we know that, yes, the schools reopened in a phased manner, but we have classes, the foundation actually of the education system, P1 to P3, even the preschool, have never stepped back into school since March 2020. So there's a bit of unreadiness, not even a bit. Many kids are now lagging behind. You have teachers who have not been teaching for months. You have parents who have not been actually connected to the schools. So I think that process of getting everybody ready when the schools reopen is something that makes everyone kind of nervous, but the fact that they are reopening is really music to the ears. And we look forward to making the system work. Is not going to be a business of only the Ministry of Education or only teachers. This is something that needs collective effort and a lot of understanding, a lot of understanding. The teachers need to be able to understand the children, that these children are coming back at different levels. Some kids have been learning online, some received printed materials they have been reading, some have been assisted by their siblings or their parents, but some have never looked at a book or anything to do with teaching and learning ever since schools closed. So kids are coming back at different levels. So teachers need to get that capacity to actually assess where each child is so that those children are supported to be taught from where they are, not to just be pumped with a lot of content. Of course, I'm sure my colleagues have talked about issues of the psychosocial, ensuring that the children are in the right mental state, but even the teachers themselves to actually receive the children and teach them well. The other understanding, I think, when I connected, my colleague, I don't know whether that was Honorable Sebamala or one of the panelists was talking about the issues of supporting private schools, but even the government schools or the public schools. I think this requires a lot of understanding. So before government comes in or the private sector comes in to support the struggling schools, there needs to be dialogue between the different stakeholders, the teachers, the head teachers, and the parents. So each one needs to understand that all of us have been really affected. There's no way how schools are going to run without resources. But also you can't put a lot of pressure on the parents by, say, increasing fees or saying that they have to pay on the first day. Then there's need to understand each other, sit on a round table, so that, yes, parents they shouldn't expect that kids are going to, especially those in private schools, that kids should return for free because schools need the resources to run, but also the private providers need to be patient with the parents, because everybody has been economically hit by this whole pandemic.
Let's bring that to let's bring that to the minister.
Sorry.
Let's bring that to the minister on the issue of resources and the needing them on the side of the school, the scarcity of the resources because of the times we are in, and government being quite cagey on releasing money for some of these things that have been requested.
Thank you. I think we all appreciate that COVID has brought on board a lot of disruption, has brought on board and affected our learners, the teachers, the parents, physically, socially, psychosocially, emotionally. Mental state has been affected, including the economy. We are not talking about only the schools. We are not talking about the private, the government school, but the entire economy has really been affected. And now that if the economy is affected, we need to look at this with a different lenses. We really look at the recovery plan in a different way. And that means that we should be doing things in a different way. It's no longer the usual business. It's no longer the business as usual. But that means we should do things differently. Now, coming to the issue of resources, one, as government, we've tried as much as possible. Initially, the capitation grants that we have for the primary and the secondary schools under government schools, the funds that were meant for the home learning studies, the 23 billion, we gave direction through the permanent secretary, wrote to the local government, permitting them to use part of that money, initially 50%, to look after the schools, to be able to cater for the schools, in terms of renovation, in terms of cleaning, in terms to ensure that really there is not too much vandalization of the schools, and to ensure that people look after the schools properly. And as we move closer to the reopening of the schools, we again have more capitation grants, which are already in the accounts of the local government. And this through the Ministry of Finance. Also, we are saying, look, this is the funds that we are going to use to renovate the schools. We are going to use to rehabilitate the schools to some extent. So those are the funds that we have at hand already in the accounts of the local government. Now, what about the private school? At least the government schools.
Are the government schools accessing that money already?
The first ones, yes, they had accessed. The first part of the grants. But this second one is already in the accounts of the local government. But permission has already, I think the Ministry of Finance had already sent permission to allow them to use this money. However, we are giving a clear guideline, criteria, how they should use the money. We are not using the money centrally, but the money is going to be used in decentralized manner. However, even within the district, they should be in position to use it within their locality to ensure that the schools benefit in an equitable manner.
All right, how is it determined the most pressing need that money should go to?
And of course, as I said, a lot have been done. We've been doing stock taking, surveillance, we've been doing inspection. We've been really trying to see which school is where, which school is more, which needs more help, and which one is probably much better. That means we worked with the local government, we have a report, we have status report on how the schools are. So that is the baseline information that could help really to ensure that the schools are given the necessary support. Now, the private schools.
Private schools, yes.
When we come to the legal framework, the Education Act of 2008 as amended, it gives the responsibility, the roles clear. As a ministry, yes, we are mandated to provide the policy guideline, regulation, and all what it takes to monitor the operation, to ensure that the schools operate within the guideline. But did not stipulate issues concerning funds to be given directly to these private schools. Nevertheless, all along, we've been having meetings, we've been having dialogue, we held symposiums with the private civil society organization, the partners, the Bankers Association, all these different people. We had stakeholders meetings, symposium, and I think there are some green light, not 100%, but there are some areas where the private schools can be supported, most especially the Bankers Association. There are banks that have really seen that, yes, the schools cannot be able to pay this interest, to pay the loan within this period of time. But I think they tried through negotiation to give some soft landing for the private schools and other modalities as well.
Honorable Sewamala, when you hear the minister say, you know, they've talked to the banks are going to provide facilities, is this what Parliament had in mind, where the schools will be borrowing the money? Because there's no way the bank is giving the money for free.
It is evident that schools already had loans. Many of the schools had loans. Remember, this is a business where they pick loans shortly before the students come back, try to refurbish the school, try to put services in place. When the students start paying their fees, they keep paying back slowly. Because you cannot wait for the last parent to pay for their child to be in school. But very many, almost half of the school, more than half of the school will bring children with quarter payments, no payments, then also half payments. That can kickstart the school for a while, but that is not when you'll plan on how to prepare the classes, to prepare the teachers, and to prepare for their meals and everything. As soon as they come to school, they have to start eating. Teachers have to get transport and all those things. So many schools depended on loans or term. I would call them term loans. That I'll get a loan for 3 months. During those 3 months, it's, as people pay, I'm paying back the bank and the school is running. So the last parent will pay in the last week, shortly before as soon as they see their kids coming back home, and they are telling them you're not going to get promoted, or you're not going to get to you're not going to do exam. That's when they will wake up and look for money around and pay. Now these parents that we are talking about looking for money around are already broke. They don't have the money. There is a lot of poverty down. In all spheres, trade, towards Christmas, 1 week to Christmas, by now you would be seeing Kampala in lights. You would be seeing people being hauled over to going to the villages. You would see shops downtown would be empty.
Okay.
And very many things. So now when we go to the banks...
Yeah, in your view, should this be loans or grants?
In my view, actually, yeah, of course there would be grants, not even loans. However, government would come up and give stimulus packages to particular schools. These ones would be there. That we have given money, billions of money, to a sugar factory in Atiak, 200 billion. We gave it out. I think it's a preliminary run last week. Well,
it's been explained that the economy has struggled, and they're looking for places to
I can give you a list.
Stimulate
I can give you a list of we spent out 17 billion into some companies. Uganda Development Corporation came up with some companies. They are not doing well due to COVID. We are buying shares in them, so let us give them stimulus packages. We 17
Parliament
billion.
approved.
Parliament approved. We have
billion to recovery process for small-scale business, and I think even private schools have been requested several times through the Ministry of Finance to benefit from this same initiative
are those
that the
loans
government
or
has
they
given.
grants? Do they have to pay this money back?
Now, I can even echo the same loan that they have said. This was a loan this is money that was passed on to Uganda Development Bank without proper regulations, and until today, people have not gotten that money. Okay. If there is one institution Uganda Development Corporation had to write to Minister of Finance for regulations, if there is one corporation that has gotten that money today, she's here.
Well, let's find out from Mr. Bugwanya,
but at least that is a step ahead.
You give us
Mr. Bugwanya here.
You cannot have given 200 billion without a proper legal framework.
Mr. Bugwanya,
in essence, I'm not going to get the money.
Have the schools benefited from this money that government has put out there for enterprises to access? And private schools are enterprises.
Thank you very much. We thought we belong to the most blessed ministry because it is headed by the First Lady. And we think that any problem that occurs within our ministry, the information can easily reach our Father. But however, we feel we are not treated well at all. You're talking of the 200 billion and whatever, but even the 20 billion that was given to the teachers in the first lockdown, it has never been received.
Wait. Dr. Kanduchu is a very good person. He cannot intimidate it.
But she's vividly looking at
the 20 billion.
Actually, I was directly in charge. After the Honorable Seninde, who was coordinating that money, I took over. I had meetings with the Private Teachers Association. We did not have a financial system to channel that money as a ministry. So that is why we had to form an association. We had the Napster, you are aware. Then a letter was written. Clearly, finance was to release that money through the Microfinance Support Center. Then the Napster, the association, umbrella of the teachers, that brings together all the private teachers association are to manage that money. Now, there are other 8
So wait, did the money go?
Eight,
Did the
listen,
money- yes.
there
It
are
is still in
8
finance.
different coalition of private teachers circle. They call a coalition, 8 different groups of circle. They wrote a letter blocking the release of that
So
money.
the money is still with
now,
finance.
we got the 2 different groups of association. He's aware. There was a fight between the 2 different arms of the private teachers. The other group and the other coalition, each actually wanted to be part of the umbrella that managed the resources. The last meeting I chaired, and they were not agreeing. We are saying, NAFSTA, get from the coalition 4 members to sit in that core apex. The meeting agree and we resolve. NAFSTA refused to sign the resolution. The coalition signed the resolution. I was left no option to ask Attorney General, what do we do? Give us a roadmap. After the 2 different
So
arms
that 20
disagree.
billion is still with
now,
finance.
the Attorney General said,
200
let
million is still in
microfinance deal with the teachers direct with the circle. That is where we are. If these others did not block the release of that money, by now we are far.
So the
But there was a
Attorney
real
General
All right.
fight.
So the
Okay.
Attorney General
Okay.
has
So
advised.
we are listening to Mr. Mugwale.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
I'm representing the feeling of private school.
Yes.
And good enough, to have Honorable Minister here. But for us, out of this COVID, we started thinking that maybe sometimes we are taken as competitors or people in opposition and whatever. For sure, we have not been catered for at all. We have been forgotten, including our teachers. Some teachers have taken 2 years without earning.
That is true.
Even the benefits here, we thought that maybe the ministry would request, like URA, to pardon them from paying pay as you earn. If they can give tax holidays to other investors who come from out. How about somebody who has taken 2 years? Remember, we are paying pay as you earn before, but we have taken 2 years, no earning, but we're sure that when we pay our teachers January, URA will expect them to pay as you earn. I think they needed such benefits.
It's called
We
pay
need,
as you earn.
yes.
So if they are
Because
earning, they
if
will
they-
pay.
Definitely.
Yeah, we needed such holidays. Since we have Honorable Minister, I think you can take that voice.
Let's go to Dr. Nakamuko. Doctor, even as we talk about, for example, the plight of the teachers, are the teachers actually there to return to the schools? As we talk about training the teachers, are those teachers there to be trained? Because we know civil society has continued to go around the country and to actually write reports about what's happening to the teachers.
Okay, so thank you very much. Our own organization undertook a national learning assessment in August, and we are in the process of finalizing the report and launch it. We are planning to launch it in the third week of January, when everybody has returned back to work in the new year. But what we have seen in the newspapers and reporting on the findings of other organizations, it indicates, and rightly so, that there is a small percentage, or a significant percentage of teachers who may not return to the teaching profession. But the question that you asked, whether teachers are there, obviously there are teachers who are there to be trained. Not everybody is going to choose not to return. But also I think during this time of between now and when schools reopen, I've also actually heard on radio, on TV, but mainly on radios, I think the Global Partnership for Education in partnership with Ministry of Education, they're running a lot of campaigns encouraging not only children to go back to school, but also teachers, that teaching is like a calling. So we are hopeful that such campaigns that are running by government, but also as civil society organizations, our organization, Uwezo Uganda, belongs to an initiative which brings together over 70 civil society organizations which do research and advocacy in Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. And many of the organizations here in Uganda, I know Star Education, I know Educate. So a number of them actually are running campaigns encouraging not only teachers, but not only children, but also teachers to return to school. Even our organization, during the national assessment, we did encourage the children to return, but also the teachers. So we really hope that when schools reopen, that the teachers, a big number of teachers, will return to school. But
all right.
There's a small percentage that may not return because people, as I think the representative of private schools mentioned, I mean, some teachers have not received a pay for the last 2 years. What did we expect? Many of them have started private businesses. So we need to find a way of supporting the teachers in terms of training, as we train them to return to class to teach, but also perhaps teaching them how to balance between their private investments that they started and teaching, so that they can perhaps do both hand in hand. And so that kind of training and preparation for the teachers has to happen. But there is that scare. And I really hope that, because it's the supervisor of the teachers, be it private or public teachers in public schools, is the Ministry of Education. So I really hope that we can also think of a plan B. So if these teachers a big percentage of teachers doesn't return, can we had teachers who trained, or students who trained as teachers, who had never been deployed. Can we run a campaign for those actually now to come and teach? But also thinking of volunteer teachers. We also have teachers who retired. So if there is a crisis, I'm sure there can be a process of returning those teachers who retired back into classroom. We saw this, you remember, when there was that peak of COVID-19 in Europe. Even retired doctors were recalled back into practice to address a crisis. I think there are different ways how we can address this, but we really hope that teachers themselves out there, even those who are watching this show, that if somebody was considering not to come back, that they regard this as a calling, that they are also giving something back to their nation, that they would actually return.
All right.
Yeah. The information I can give is that this financial year, we factored for recruitment of teachers in the local government. Quite a number of local government districts have been running adverts on recruitment, and some of them have completed the exercise of recruiting teachers at primary level, and also at secondary level. We've been recruiting teachers now. If you've been there and you saw what took place in district local government, that shows that really there are teachers out there who are not recruited, and they are very more than willing to join the service. Now, this exercise has been ongoing up to the end of December. And we've been doing stock taking, we've been doing sex inspection, we've been getting to know who is where. By the beginning of January, maybe once schools reopen, we continue with the process of stock taking, inspection, to see that how many teachers do we have in place, how many are not coming. Once we get that, and those who may not completely come back, we will advertise the position and refill the gap. That is it. Because we cannot just leave the gap empty like that. But from the look of things and from what has been taking place, it is a very clear evidence that there are teachers out there willing to come and join the teaching profession.
All right, and yes, okay. Mr.
Thank you very much. But that Honorable Minister has also been worrying us in the private sector. Since ours have not been paid for 2 years, and we have been paying yours every month, and then
yours have been wanting to cross.
And then you advertise that you want teachers. That automatically appetizes ours to join you, and we don't know how the private schools are going to be helped because they have not been paid. So and then you advertise that you want teachers.
The minister says on the part of government, they've taken stock of who are there, you know, who are going to return. Private schools, have you done that?
We could not do before getting the whatever the roadmap. Now that since we have got it,
you may go out and excite people and they start asking you for payment.
So, but now that we have got the roadmap, We are going to do so, but we still wanted the support.
And how do you plan to fill the
regulators.
gaps? Because you have been hearing teachers had to find alternative ways of surviving, and this especially affects teachers from private schools. How are you going to fill that gap?
Like one of our panelists said, teaching is a calling. There are those ones who will never leave teaching. So since we have gotten a chance, we have got the roadmap, we are going to advertise and to take this opportunity to use the SEETV to call back our teachers and all other teaching staff. Please come back and we serve the nation.
Serve the nation.
Yes, please.
All right.
Also, COVID has brought on board new innovations. It has brought on board that apart from teaching, which is a profession, which is a calling, there are other skills that you must learn. Farming is for everybody. Even if I'm a doctor, even if I'm a minister, but farming is a skill. I can do baking, I can do other probably business that may not be directly linked to my profession. So it has taught us how to think out of the box. Does not mean that we avoid and we ignore our profession. So what our colleague doctor said is that we should advocate for the teachers. Yes, you have your profession, you have the calling. Yes, there is this other business that you are doing. We can manage that too to ensure that you don't ignore the teaching profession, but you balance the two. You can do in such a way but does not disrupt the profession. Just like the IT, the e-learning, and the internet, that has become now the norm of our day.
Right.
And we are advancing.
Some of these things
new
require
technology.
that laws and policies are put in place so that they're done, in a way that is, regulated, that is monitored, that where Parliament can give its oversight. And we need to take a break. We will come back and hear from Honourable whether these plans, as we are hearing them, have actually found their way to Parliament so that Parliament can hold government to account if government doesn't come through on some of these promises. Let's go for a break. After the break, we continue the discussion.
Start your day fresh with TV unlike anything you've seen before. Wake up with Sunrise at Sea for your daily dose of freshly cut stories, trending online discussions, self-care and constructive conversations. No topic is off limits. Watch Sunrise at Sea every weekday at 7 a.m. Now showing on SEETV. Don't blink.
We entertain you. Ngawe tukuwata. Amanya Shamimanja, omobwat President Birabiri Mokaga, akabonero court.
Nanga wento naliya nafuka ikankomya aliya one but tikutema olwaleero.
Ani tubasuubiza ntugenda kubanga tuli mu bitundu ebyenjawulo.
Ani yayambadde obulungi. Kakoye kyakazze ku mulembe.
Ne gown ya black erina tiara ya black.
Tiara.
English of my kind. Tiara.
I feel the beat.
You feel the beat?
Yeah.
Olwokuba bakuta ekigero oba feeling the beat. Show bagiyita situations ko ground. This is a buffet kyagala kyolyako.
Beerako ku SEETV totally.
Don't blink.
Now showing on SEETV. Don't blink. As we embark on a journey to realize our full potential, we all need expanded minds and limitless possibilities. We need to be accurately informed. SEETV is your growth partner. With reliable, in-depth news, we tell the story from all perspectives. We bring you the story in real time. Catch our comprehensive daily bulletins in Juba Egorobye at 7 p.m. and PM edition at 9 p.m. SEETV. Don't blink.
Welcome back from the break. Thank you for staying with us here on the Big Debate, SEETV. I'm your host, Iguma Gabriel. Today we're looking at the safe reopening of schools. This follows an announcement by the Minister of Education and Sports that come January 10th, 2022, schools will be reopened. That's pre-primary, primary, and secondary schools, joining the rest of the education sector that had been opened previously. We have talked around areas of readiness, and we're going to switch to the issue of whether Parliament is actually receiving these plans and making sure that they will hold the government accountable. Our four guests, Honorable Dr. Moriku Joyce Kaduchu, State Minister for Education, particularly for primary education. She's also District Woman Representative for Moyo District. We also have another Member of Parliament with us, the Honorable Richard Sebamala, MP for Bukoto Central. We have right next to me Mr. Christopher Mugwanya. He is a proprietor of a school, but he's also the treasurer of he's the national treasurer for the Proprietors of Private Education Institutions Association of Uganda. And joining us online is Dr. Mary Goreti Nakabugo, Executive Director for Uwezo Uganda. Honorable Sebamala, we've had the plans that the Ministry of Education has. Plans have been received with mixed reactions, but largely with, joy, because the sector is opening. How is Parliament going to hold, Ministry to account to make sure that they actually come through on the things that they, are promising for the sector?
Ministry of Education is a special ministry. It is one ministry where you cannot just ask for anything anyhow, given its pertinent issue that it has the First Lady in place. You're supposed to be very conscious with the words you use, and you lash at her if, in the case of any mistake. Actually, it is kind of a ministry that is kind of protected. That's why my friend thought that they should have special treatment, but they have not yet received it. This is a ministry where you call for the minister and you will not see them for some time. You've seen that in Parliament.
Well, the minister invited you to Kololo.
We had actually decided that the Speaker of Parliament calls the House in Kololo, then she addresses us in Kololo, in a Parliament setting. In that Parliament setting, you're immune to whatever you say and do.
Well, because what you will say is privileged.
Exactly. However, if they call you for a meeting and you just lash at words, however pertinent you feel, they can easily order for your exit when you're still in the debate. So, or even somebody can take it personal. Yet in Parliament, there are other rules that would govern. So it was a matter of the minister requesting the Speaker to hold for the parliamentary process to be in Kololo. It's the same place. Members of Parliament would come, but it would be a Parliament setting. And in that setting, whatever would have been spoken in that, whatever resolutions that would have come up with in that Parliament would be binding. However, a simple meeting of meeting us and then you tell us I'm going to do this, you would do this, and then what? That is not binding.
But does that mean that now these plans have been rolled out without the input of Parliament?
Which is okay. They are bound to scrutiny. They are bound to scrutiny. However, we appreciate what the ministry has done so far. We are not people that do not love government. We are people that give government alternatives. We are people that highlight the gaps that government has not, included in its program. So you find that by the time this came out today, we are reading it. I'm sure it will be subject to, it would have been subject to debate probably next week when all members of parliament are back from Arusha and other places. However, you know, we are going for a recess next week. So we are bound to debate this in January.
When schools are open.
When schools are already open.
When there is no time.
When there is no time.
They cannot debate on something that they refuse to listen to and to
I think
give
you can now
contribution.
see the timing.
Yes.
Because if we refuse to listen to it 2 months ago or a month ago, why didn't you present it there? Because you would have given, we refuse to listen to it, you say, I've given you the same thing you've done today, you do it a month ago.
But doesn't that mean that Parliament is failing on its oversight role?
You know, it is good. There is a way the politics plays in cabinet. The timing, what you're going to say, how you're going to say it, when, who is around, who is not there. Now members are in Arusha. Parliament is closing. This is when this can come. There's a very little noise in the public, and then there you go. Remember, there's a time when I actually.
The Honourable Minister does not agree with you.
I'll also give you this. Remember the time when the opposition said they are leaving Parliament for when some of their members had been jailed and everything. This is when they brought the tracking and what vehicle thing. They brought it during the time when the opposition was out of work, and then it was some of the statement was read, and that was complete. Because now the opposition was not there to, you know.
But you're the ones who chose to walk out.
This is the same thing. There has always been this kind of things.
All right.
But on a bigger picture. Now let's look at the bigger picture. Going to Kololo or not, that was okay. It was optional. I would have even gone to Kololo. Never know. Never know. However, what we are looking at now, However, what we are looking at now, are there guidelines? Are there regulations? Is there a need to change in the Education Act that we need to incorporate at this time,
right,
before the schools start? Okay. Yes, there is.
All right.
Has it been done? No, it has not.
Let's hear from the Minister very briefly, because I want to bring Doctor in.
Yes, I want to say that Parliament is one of the arms of government. We all know.
Yes.
Parliament is a very critical, very important body that we need to involve in all decision making, consultation, any meeting, any forum. And we all know education is a very critical tool. You want to transform the economy, you want to move from one level to another, you need education. You want to eradicate poverty, you need education.
Agreed.
It's a backbone. And we are speaking about something fundamental principle that affects the life of our children.
Agreed.
And these elected members who have been called and invited to speak on behalf of the thousands and the millions of people that have elected them to come and represent them. But for them to really refuse that invitation, it was really unheard of. Because that consultation process was not only for members of parliament.
That is totally another discussion, and if we go into it,
we may take the rest of the
evening.
Let's come to this point. Let's come to this point, yes. He said that the ministers, whenever they're invited, they are never there. I think I want to disagree. We've always been in parliament. Last week, I was in parliament responding to quite a number of issues. Last week, the leader of opposition presented a statement on education. Yes. I responded to that, and we all agree that it is a shared responsibility.
Yeah,
we work together.
Very directly, you did release this statement today and a roadmap. Was there input from Parliament?
Come again?
Was there input from Parliament in this roadmap that you released today?
We have been consulting quite a number of stakeholders. We've been inviting the First Lady and the Honorable Minister of Education and Sports, extended invitation to the district local government officials. They came to Kololo. We had a meeting. We had a meeting with different groups of people.
Supposed to be.
We had a meeting with different categories of people. And the same principles and the key pillars that is needed to reopen the schools have been presented,
All right.
and people have been giving their input. A case in point is that the case that we said, yes, we have P1, P2, P3. This has to progress to the next class. They will be given remedial teaching in order to catch up the lost time.
All right.
This has been discussion and contribution from different people.
Now that you've brought that up, let me go to Dr.
Not Parliament.
Because we've got to progress, and our time is really flying.
Does Parliament have an input in this?
Well, last week Parliament presented a statement, and I too gave a response and actually hinted on a number of the strategies that was presented today. And even on the floor of Parliament, I made it clear that come January 10th, 2022, pre-primary, primary, and secondary are opening. The details will be announced at appropriate time, which was done today. And I gave quite a number of inputs.
So Parliament will have to deal with it after.
All right. The input of that debate.
So the Parliament decided to say they are not part of education. They did not want education because they have been invited
their views
to go
will be
to Kelelo.
post-mortem.
So now why are they asking for the statement?
Actually, this is something that is contentious, but I want the honourable member to respect the House. Actually, the House wants to meet the minister, and we want to meet her in the House. There is no problem with her consultation. I have said it is okay for us to go to where is it? To Kololo. There's no problem. However, we want to be in Kololo in the premises of Parliament.
All right, and that point has been made. Honourable Minister, isn't it important? Isn't it important for Parliament's views to actually go into something as important as a strategy for reopening?
Gabriel, I have to make this categorically clear. Parliament should know protocol. They are placed in a better position to know protocol. The Minister of Education and Sport is the First Lady.
So she
and
cannot
by
sit
protocol,
in Parliament.
not that by sitting the Parliament, by protocol, the spouse of the sitting president, she's actually the next in protocol. And with this COVID situation, and to make it worse, sometimes in Parliament, when people are requested to come with the vaccination card to take vaccines, they are not willing. So who knows who is vaccinated, who is not vaccinated? When they are requested to take COVID test, they are not willing. And we are dealing with
all that said,
with protocol.
Yes.
So I think we need to respect and to know
all
protocol.
All that said, this is a person that we are meeting not as First Lady, but as a Minister of Education.
Could you have met any of the other ministers for the same?
Before that, we could have met them for the same, which was not done. And we did not refuse to go to Kololo to meet her. No. We are saying...
You just put other conditions, which conditions were not met?
We are saying, if we have called you as Parliament, and you say Kololo is the best place, it is wide, we take COVID test. I personally took a COVID test for that thing. But we are saying when we go to Kololo, like remember when we passed the budget.
Remember when we passed the precincts of Parliament?
You were there when we passed the budget. Yes, that is all we asked.
And that has been done. You were doing it previously for Serena. Now you're doing it for Kololo. Yes,
we are saying let's go there.
They have a different agenda. Probably
address Parliament.
All right.
Well,
but the ministers of state have been appearing on the floor of Parliament. I do not know why the members of Parliament could not sometimes.
We are not going for a lunch break meeting.
Because when I have been delegated by the minister to come to the House, I hold the docket of the minister.
All right.
Yes.
Why do you still demand
Honorable
that
members,
you want the minister?
But you're not final.
We need
because you're not final on the
to move
decision.
on.
It is the minister that is
Honorable
final.
members, you failed to resolve this on the floor of Parliament. We are not going to manage to resolve it.
We have resolved it. We have
on the floor of Parliament.
Here we have resolved it.
The roadmap is out. The roadmap is out, so there's no much discussion.
On CTV, we've managed to resolve it.
Yes, you managed to resolve that Parliament wanted to sit in Kololo as Parliament.
But we have managed them. The roadmap is out.
All right, let's go to Doctor, and let's shift gears here. One of the things that the Honourable Minister mentioned is the automatic promotion. And would like to hear from you on the views on this automatic promotion, and probably how other countries are doing
It is progression, not automatic promotion.
Well, whatever
The
term you
statement
give it,
is clear.
people are not doing exams are going to the next class. Yes, doctor.
Yeah, thank you very much. Whatever you call it, whether automatic progression or automatic promotion, I think what I would have loved to see as an educationist is when the children return. I think the minister, Honorable Minister, Dr. Honorable Kaduchu, talked about issues of remedial teaching. I think the starting point should be or should have been that when these children come back to, of course, some have already progressed. I think some schools have already progressed children because they have been teaching them online or through different means. But when a child, for example, comes back to me, if I was a teacher or if I was managing the education sector, I would say when they come back to primary 3, for example, I would first do some kind of an assessment to understand the levels at which they are. So I think rather than just merely progressing them, we need to first interact them, assess them, know where they are, and do some bit of teaching. And then once they progress, because progression is extremely important, because you don't want to create that traffic jam. Already there was some kind of jam even before the COVID-19, especially in the lower classes, where you don't have preschool, which is not funded by government. So there was always that traffic jam in primary 1, where everybody's sending their children even before 6 years to be there. But you don't want to create that traffic jam because of this stagnation, so there must be progression. But we should be mindful that you are not just progressing people without actually adding some value to them and understanding where they are. So even when you progress them, they won't be at the same level. So the teachers receiving them should be able to actually do an assessment and understand, yes, I've received this child who was in primary 3, they've progressed to primary 4, but if I have 80 children, 80, they are not at the same level. They will need to assess them and understand where they are. And especially I think where we are struggling a lot is at the foundation level. Kids have been out of school for a long time, but even before the COVID-19, our own learning assessment actually indicated that like 90% of primary 3 children, for example, had not yet learned how to read and understand.
And doctor, those are the stats, and those are the statistics that are causing quite a bit of worry, because if the learning outcomes before the lockdowns were that bad, where, you know, by P3, where you should be reading certain basic words, you're not reading them, and then you've been out of school and you're being progressed to P4, to P5, what exactly is going to happen to the quality?
Yeah, and I think actually for me that is where we need to put a lot of focus. It's not just a matter of progressing them. The minister talked about the issue of remedial teaching or catch-up. That is extremely good news. But we need
to the teachers have the time for that?
And actually prepare teachers for it. So yes, I mean, sorry?
Do the teachers have the time to do that? Because they're to come up with the teaching plans in a couple of, you know, weeks, including Christmas break in there. They should, undergo a certain training. Then they'll receive the students. They will be at different levels and assessing that. Do they even have the time to even think of remedial lessons?
No, it's not too late. I mean, even the preparation of teachers is not a once-off thing. So there is what we call continuing professional development. The preparation of teachers and supporting them has to be continuous. And that is going to be done by the government entities, but also civil society organizations need to come into this. And civil society organizations also need a conducive environment to be able to support the education sector. But what I'm saying here is that with the remedial teaching, at least let us have it planned on the timetable.
All right.
Because every teacher knows when you are trained that, yes, I must be able to assess children, And if there are those who are not catching up, I must be able to attend them. But if we just leave to them to decide when to do it, it might be a little bit problematic. So we need to formalize on the school timetable. Maybe designate some 2 hours every day or 2 hours every other day to ensure that teachers have that space outside the formal teaching everyone as Kayola or Kaujumla. There's some space time that is designated for supporting children who may have been left behind to catch up. But also one important thing is that I think more than ever before, we need partnership at all levels. Teaching and learning is not going to happen only in school premises. There have been initiatives that have been started by development partners, civil society, of community-led learning or home-based learning. Those initiatives have to really continue because things that children may not have caught up on during the school time, those initiatives of teaching children either over weekend or after school by different organizations really need to be supported to continue, because the truth is that this is, the minister talked about, this is not business as usual, but also the children have been lagging behind for a long time. We expect that a lot of them will need to be supported to catch up. And that has to happen by formalizing those catch-up programs that the minister talked about on the school timetable within the school hours, but also the community-led learning initiatives continuing outside the school. But also that calls on the local leaders and the parents to support those initiatives, because they're for the good of the children. The children are our children, but they're also our future as a nation.
All right. Let's find out from Mr. Mugwanya, how are you planning to implement this? They have asked to progress people who some of you have not even taught.
Okay. Thank you very much. Many people have been calling it automatic promotion. Then Honorable Minister has given us the progress. Other people have been calling it shifting. You shift the P2s from the room where they have been, but academically, when they are still in P2. But I think we need to handle children individually, as the doctor said. We need to assess them. We need to begin in teaching. We begin from known to unknown. And I think that's what we are now training our teachers. There is a special training the ministry organized, which has not been there before COVID. So those are the issues that we handle. How are we going to handle them? We have to first rehabilitate them socially, emotionally, and whatever. Even the teachers themselves, we are training them how to handle. For us in our schools, we even designed a form whereby we shall first ask the parents and the child had an opportunity of schooling during this time, which whatever, is it coaching, online, some others have never studied anything. So we shall have to handle them individually, and then we get to know, we group them according to ability. And then another advantage is, much as a child has not been in the school, but the fact that his age has increased by 2 years, that means that even the brains have grown. You may not take much time as you would have taken. If you are teaching a 6-year-old somebody and the one who is teaching an 8-year-old somebody, the one who is teaching the one who is 8-year-old may take less time. I will give you an example that in Uganda you have been having, before COVID, the best education in the region. That's why you have been receiving students from all the countries around us. But sometimes you could get Sudanese, somebody who is 10 and does not know any reading, any language, and because somebody is 12, you are forced to put such somebody in P3, much as the one in the middle class may read better than this one. But after 3-4 years, you find that around P5, P6, those are the ones who are suspecting to score 4 aggregates because of the age. So even when the age increases, the brain is growing. So the teaching may not take much time as it would have taken.
Speaking of grades, this is something that's important, and especially important for private schools, because when you perform well at UCE, UACE, PLE, then you attract more people to your schools. Isn't this going to be a concern for you, because are your candidates going to be ready to perform at the level you want them to perform?
we shall have to. We don't teach those ones who are bright, or like Jesus was blamed for being in bars with such sinful people, and said that he did not come to save the righteous ones, but he came to save the sinners. Even us, we don't teach those ones who are bright, those ones who are excellent. Whoever we think that is excellent, in primary, just promote to secondary, then secondary promotes to the university. We shall do whatever it costs, and we shall make it.
All right. Well, of course, there are a number of things we could touch on, but time is not going to allow for that to happen. So,
I want to agree with Dr. Maria Goretti that the children we are going to get this time around, it's very unique. There are those that have not studied, there are those who have been online, but remember, there are also our daughters who have gotten pregnant, they are coming back to class. There are those who have probably gotten to do other things, they are coming back to class. So what we are saying is that the principle is to leave no child behind and to handle every child in a uniform way, in terms of not to segregate that this one was the other time pregnant, now is, no. We don't need to segregate, but handle them according to their ability and capability in terms of intellectual, reasoning. Now, the principle we recall of UPE, all of us, teacher, that we have progressive assessment. Number 2, we're talking about 2 years. 2019, before COVID, this child was in P5. 2020, March 20th, when schools were closed due to COVID, this child was in probably P6. Now, this child came back in October 2020 just to sit for a short time and again get back home in June this year. This child has not gone far. Supposed to have been probably in senior 1, but is still in P6. That is why we are having this progression for the children, shifting, as you said. But the most important thing is really that remedial teaching, that assessment, and treating them according to their capability and really ability, how much they can catch up within that period. And remember, the physiological changes in the body. This is a child who was 9 years, now is 11 years. This is a girl with all the changes in the body, was 6 years, now is 8 years. You want her to go back to P1? I think also the stigma, I'm so sorry to say, it may not be scientific and objective, but also a girl who is already at that age and to go back to a lower class, you know what it means as a teacher. So a lot of psychosocial, mental rehabilitation, a lot of mental therapy, counseling therapy, and to ensure that these children catch up and they are within that time ready for primary.
Honorable Sewamala.
When is that? Between now and 10th? When is that mental psychology?
At the beginning of the show, all of you said
anyway,
that the time was there.
Anyway, 2.
Now you're all
2 now.
backtracking.
2 now. Then we go, no. Then we talk about the legal, the legality that we are talking about. Now that we are accepting children that are pregnant in school, how will you refuse somebody to get pregnant in school next time? If today kids are going to be in class with their babies.
They are not going to be with their babies. I think the principle
in the head, in the stomach.
They first deliver, we leave them, look after, the babies are looked after by their parents, they come back to study. They can change the environment to another school if they feel stigmatized.
So the ones who are pregnant, for clarity, the ones who are pregnant. So there are those who have, it's been 2 years, so there are those who have given birth, the baby,
those that are going to get pregnant
maybe and unfortunately, what's happening in the community is that people are still preying on these young girls.
Look, let's go back. This one was 16 years at cutoff, was 17. She's 18. So you're not going to take even the person to court because she's not a student.
Yes, but let's first.
She's a non-student. She's also not in. She's not in school, and 2, she's above 18.
Yes. So for clarity,
And how
Honorable
about the
Minister,
fathers?
the ones who are, the ones who will be pregnant at the time when the schools open, what is the policy for those ones?
I think I've made it clear. The principle is leave no child behind. Our policy is clear that children, boys and girls, even the boy, by the way, can be affected. If they gotten pregnant, and let's encourage them to come back to school. We've seen those who are pregnant and sat PLE. There are those who got pregnant and they are heavy, they sat UCE.
And they passed.
And they passed. So the point is that, well, the stigma will be auto-stigma. But the point is that if that child is pregnant, the girl is able to study, allow her. But if she's not able to, let her first deliver and leave the baby home. Then after she comes back to study, but she can change the school, change of environment
now,
to another school.
Is that documented anywhere? And have these guidelines been given to the schools? Because you know, it's been applied differently in
It is
different
a
places.
policy. It is a policy in the Ministry of Education, and we have made that very clear and loud. We have talked about it. Then too, we have gotten guidelines for prevention of teenage pregnancy, managing it within school premises.
All right. Honorable, I'm going to come to you. Let me just get a quick
Well,
answer.
my-
I'm going to come to you.
on
I
this-
just want a quick answer from Mr. Mugwanya here. Are the schools going to allow pregnant girls back?
We cannot act contrary from
To a policy.
from our regulators and to policy. However, we don't encourage it as parents. Yeah.
That's why we are preventing the pregnancy. We don't want them to get pregnant. Those who gotten pregnant, let it stop with those ones. Moving forward, let's prevent the girls from getting pregnant.
All right.
That's why we have the 1-year campaign.
Yes.
Honorable Sewamala, yes.
What I just wanted to tell the minister is the policy is right and true. However, now there is somebody that is going to get pregnant in school. And since you've allowed these ones to study and finish their class, it will be illegal for you to push them out of school. So it is a trend that we have started, that somebody can get pregnant and remain in class. Unless there is a strict guideline, an act or something that will tell them if you're in school and get pregnant in school, you're out of school.
I think
and then they will tell you that we treat this as a special circumstance and the other one as illegal. You understand? Unless it is that specific write-up. But then by and large, all of us want the students in school. What we have to prevent is the fact that when they get to school now, none of them takes advantage of saying, I came pregnant.
Yeah.
I think the point you have not gotten right, that it's not that when I'm pregnant, I'm in P5, I'm allowed to continue.
No, I'm in P7. I'm in S4.
You're in P7 and you are getting to sit in exams, but you're allowed to come and sit even with your pregnancy. You get it? It's different from when you conceive, you're in P5, maybe it is still first term, and every day you want to come with that pregnancy. You get the point? So these are two different things.
And
But
that's
it's
when
not that-
that's when somebody will ask that, what's different from the other that came with their pregnancy and sat, and me that has gotten pregnant and can still study and pass.
But of course, there are circumstances surrounding that. Because even you yourself, your own daughter, gets pregnant at P5 before reaching the time of sitting exams. With all the stigma, with all what is psychosocial trauma,
okay.
she may not be in position.
Okay,
to
let's
bear
look at
that.
the children that are in S3 and S5. You understand? They have gone back to school with their pregnancies and given birth. You understand? Yeah? She gives birth, you've allowed her in class, she has given birth and been promoted to S6. You get my point. And she gets a second baby. What is going to a second pregnancy? What is going to prevent you from allowing her to sit her S6 exams?
But let me tell you, it is one thing to imagine that it can be repeated. And it is another thing to actually see the fact.
You're joking with these girls.
You know,
Well, the
Yes,
perpetrators
it's a
as
bad
well,
teacher.
those who are preying on the girls.
And
But
allowing the
we're
girls
talking
to
above 18.
allowing them to come back to school does not mean that it should encourage them. From time to time, they get pregnant, you do away with it, again you get pregnant. No, That is not the case, really. It's just that you are giving a future. This child has a dream. This girl has a future.
I think the point that's being made is the clarity on the policy.
On the policy.
Because there's going to be clarity of the policy, and then the implementation should also be in tandem with what the policy, because there's going to be so many interpretations. The policy should indicate that
this is for strictly these ones. This is a special treatment for these ones that are pregnant, not the ones that are going to get pregnant as soon as they go back to school.
No, it is not for those who are not, because that's why we say prevention and management. We are preventing pregnancies in schools.
All right.
We are not allowing these girls to get pregnant this time. It has happened. I think everybody is really advocating to see that the girls do not get.
The Honourable Minister should also take note that it is the boys are more traumatized than the girls that get pregnant.
Thank you.
They will forfeit the schools they went to because the girl they made pregnant is in that school, and they will rush to another school. However, because they know their girlfriends are pregnant in another school, they will not concentrate in this school. So as they work on the girl child, they should be also working on the boy child. You're pregnant.
You say let us work together.
Okay.
That is why we said from the beginning of the show that this is a collective effort, and I like where Dr. Nakabugo took it. She said, you know, we all, many stakeholders have a role to play. And unfortunately, some of these aspects, are going to be left to the donors, which is very, very unfortunate. Dr. Nakabugo, as we bring this to a close, you know, because the time is really rushing, where should concentration be put, especially when it comes to allocation of resources as we look at reopening the schools?
Gabriel, were you asking me? There was a slight disconnection here, so I didn't get the first part of the question.
Sorry about that. Well, there's scarcity of resources, and we've seen that some of these aspects we are talking about are going to be left to the donors. As we plan to reopen the schools, where should we focus the resources, you know, so that we have better outcomes?
Yes, I think excellent really question, because there are so many competing demands. But really the priority should be on ensuring that when the children come back to school, they are safe. Safety is extremely important. But another very important thing is that it's not just a matter of bringing children to school. There must be learning. So we must invest in processes that facilitate learning. Honorable Minister of Education, Honorable Dr. Kaduchu talked about that remedial teaching, the catch-up. If we can invest resources in really preparing the teachers to be able to identify those children who need catch-up programs, but also be able to attend to those who are already advancing, it's extremely useful. But also this supplementary learning or supplementary materials are extremely important. For me, I think even before COVID-19, our issue was always, we asked the question, are children learning? Because we opened doors to children because of UPE, USE, and millions came into school. But schooling is not the same as learning. But for me, the little resources that we have, we should prioritize the fact that when these children come back to us, that their learning is a priority. Let's make learning interesting. And this question maybe goes also to the teachers. There's going to be a temptation, and this makes me a bit nervous, because the average curriculum we are talking about is kind of a secret. I would have expected that by now it's maybe online on the website of NCDC, or it's actually in the public docket, so that we know what it looks like. The moment that teachers don't know actually what to do, the children are the ones who are going to suffer. Pumping them, because syllabus coverage is not the only thing that we are looking at. We want children to learn at least the foundations, reading, arithmetic, but also the basic skills for them to be able to thrive. So we should put the focus there. There might be a temptation of building more classrooms to decongest, or investing a lot of resources in the SOPs, which is okay. But let's put more resources, the little that we have, in ensuring that when every child comes, the minister talked about leave no child behind. Let them not be left behind by bringing them back to school, but also when they come back to school, nobody should be left behind that they are not learning. Everybody should be learning and acquiring the foundational skills so that they are able to thrive in this world.
All right. Mr. Mugwanya, you own a school.
Yes.
Where are you going to focus your resources?
The resources, first of all, they are not there. we need to know that. But the action...
The scarce ones, the little that is there, where are you going to focus that money?
First of all, in the preparation.
Okay.
Number one, I have to call back the teachers. In good enough, I called them back. And on training, I want to thank the Kampala, our Director of Education, Madam Namud, has organized different workshops. Ours in Nakawa is tomorrow, from tomorrow, for 3 days. Then they are training the administrators in school. Then from Saturday onwards, we are going to train the teachers. Then after training the teachers, we shall have prepared them to receive the children. And then the little resources we have automatically are spent in the reorganization, because 2 years without any child, things are not in order in preparation, so that the children find learning environment better prepared than the way it is now.
Dr. Nakavugo is suggesting that some of this money goes towards the remedial classes. Are you going to be able to do that?
Remedial classes. When I prepare the teachers, definitely they are the ones to conduct the remedial classes. For me, I think it's preparation of the teachers. When I prepare them, they also prepare the children.
All right.
Because on day one, we are not going to begin with the capital A, small a, whatever. The first week, we shall be preparing the children.
All right.
Yeah.
Government is saying do not chase people for school fees. Let them come with what they have. Are you going to allow them to come?
I want to take this opportunity to encourage the parents. Learning, as Doctor said, it is everyone's duty. This time we should not leave, because maybe parents are expecting schools to save them. And schools are also saying that parents are our bosses. That's why we have been crying in these 2 years without parents. So everyone is expecting salvation from the other side. So it is everyone's role. Parents, I request, as we have requested teachers to come back to school, administrators to prepare the schools, we are also encouraging the parents, visit the school before. Okay. Even if you have problems, don't wait on the first day to be chased from the gate. Visit the headmaster, visit the administrators, you share the problems.
All right.
Of course, nobody is going to be chased away, only the timing. You wait, we are reporting on 10th, you go on 10th, you go to the bursar's office, you visit the bursar's office. If you have challenges, you share those challenges before. So that at the end of the day, we ensure that the child is in class.
All right, I know the questions are many, but so that people are better prepared as they plan to go to school, what are some of the special things you're going to ask them to come with? Because you've been asked to put certain special things in place. We're calling them SOPs.
Yes.
So what are you going to ask students to come to school with that you don't ordinarily ask them to come with?
That will depend on the arrangement of the school. Yeah, we may not have a universal kind of arrangement.
In your case?
In my case, SOPs, we shall be very much strict.
Are you going to ask students to bring sanitizer?
Sanitizer may prepare it, but the parents have to meet a small cost. We prepare the masks, but they have to meet a small cost. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But I think apart from the remedial teaching, one of the key important aspects all schools should focus on is the surveillance, because that is what is going to keep the schools open. That is what is going to keep...
This is surveillance for COVID-19.
COVID-19
because
surveillance.
The last time it was bad,
that
what we found
it.
in the schools when the second lockdown was announced. Because, you know, schools were keeping students that were COVID-19 positive.
We say some schools.
Well, yes, some schools were.
Every school is expected to have COVID-19 task force comprising of the students, teaching staff, non-teaching staff. Every school, the head teacher is the accounting officer in terms of reporting.
All right.
the COVID-19 cases every day. There should be surveillance, and this should link to the nearest health facility. And there should be, we are recommending a health personnel.
Okay.
If it's not permanent, but there should be a visiting health personnel. There should be a small sick bay. There should be really something that can link the school to the nearest health facility. Because when you get a positive case,
how do you handle
we
it?
should be quickly able to test.
Right.
And this one we've been discussing.
Right.
The district task force team that has the DEO and the school inspector as a task force member, they are linking the schools, the health facility, and the district task force.
Okay.
And this time we are strict on that, the surveillance.
All right. Let's hear from Honorable Member. And now we have to bring this to a close. So after that, you would give your parting shot. We will end with the Minister. Yes, Honorable Sebamala.
I like the way the Minister has put it. Surveillance. How I wish he said we are giving them antigen tests every school for testing these children every day.
The rapid test.
Then we have the rapid test.
And you're going to give them free to the schools.
Well, it has been free.
Okay.
It has
Yeah,
not
so
been
that
paid
is
for.
good. So you're
Only
going to
that
get
we still have it at the health facility, that the children will be taken there. Time will come that it will come out the school level. Remember, testing has been initially at one focal point. It has been decentralized. As it becomes available, it moves in different facilities. So,
yes, sir.
So we are now sure that you'll have test kits at the health center, and our kids will have to be moving to the nearest health center. Mine, the nearest is 7 miles.
Which one is
Not
that?
kilometers, miles.
Which one
Yes,
is that?
from Zimwe to the nearest health center. Okay, so they'll have to move there and back.
That is suspected case. That's why we have surveillance.
But we are also saying,
Cases that are suspected.
Honorable Minister, Honorable Minister. No, but surveillance is for everyone.
Yes,
Surveillance is for everyone.
that
But anyway,
means-
Yes,
importantly,
we have to end,
importantly, as
unfortunately,
we
yes.
end, my parting shots are, I started in Nazareth Boarding Primary School, somewhere in Rakai, in the late 90s, in the mid 90s. That's where I finished my primary school. And to us, it wasn't about how we are sleeping. It wasn't about what we are eating that much. It wasn't about how we are studying. It was about the teachers. They pumped us. They taught us a lot of things that by the time we got to exams, we were prepared and we moved on. This year, this 1 or 2 years, is going to be a very hard time for all schools. This is to urge all people that own schools, government inclusive, to take care of the teachers such that they do their job. And with the students, it won't be about how they are, it will be about how they pass or how they proceed to the next level. So empower the teachers, look for you people that have the schools, look out for those teachers that have particular talents and traits to pass them on to the students such that in 2 years' time we are back on track.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable. Let me go over to Dr. Nakabugo for your parting shot.
Yeah, thank you very much. For me, it's really great news that at least now we know the roadmap. We know that schools are reopening on the 10th of January and the calendar is out. We've been looking forward to that for a long, long time. And when schools reopen, yes, we want children to progress to other classes, but we must ensure that we are combining progression with learning. It's not just a matter of going through school. And this is a focus that should be put on that by the learners themselves, the teachers, but also the parents and the Ministry of Education, ensuring that, yes, now we have an opportunity for children to come back to school. They must come back to school, all of them, to learn. Progress with learning. So it's not just a matter of pushing children through the system. And that needs collective effort on everybody involved to ensure that we come back on track.
All right. Mr. Mugwanya?
Oh, thank you very much. Since I got an opportunity of sitting with my minister, I just wanted kindly to send the message to our mama.
Stimulus.
That
our
much as we are
package.
private schools, but we are handling the children of the government and have a very big role we are playing. In fact, pre-primary 100% are private. There are so many private primary schools, secondary schools. I'm sure we have a very big role we're playing, but sometimes we feel we are treated like the co-wives and whatever. So like the 13 billion for reopening, that big junk is going to only the public schools. So we think that we should also be thought of. We employ so many Ugandans. We are the ones who take the rejects. We don't have cut-off points. Some of the schools take a 4, 5, 6, but private schools, we take the rejected and we turn them into useful Ugandans. So we pray that Mama and the whole team should also think of the private school and have a small portion to help us move on. Thank you.
All right.
Can I give?
Yes, very briefly.
Very briefly. I have the last PLE I had 1,064 pupils.
In your constituency?
In my constituency, I had 300 S4 leavers, and I had only 20 S6 leavers. So I pray that the ministry looks into how many people progress from primary to tertiary institution. It is really appalling. The numbers decrease and go down. I have only one school that has an S6 center in the whole constituency. So these are issues that we need to look into and manage as we manage the progression of schools and the students.
I come from Madiokolo. If I am to say what the education status was basing on results, I'll just say we're the second worst in the country. Honorable Minister, your parting shot.
Well, I must say that I'm very grateful to the people of Uganda that has supported us all through this difficult period. And finally, the roadmap for the reopening of school for pre-primary, primary, and secondary is out. As I appreciate the effort of the entire people of Uganda, I want to appeal that this is a shared responsibility. Let's support this roadmap and strengthen it and make it more stronger, and to ensure that we produce the right quality of the children we want to see tomorrow citizen of this country, that the really competence-based learning and the skills are imparted in these children. Critic, yes, is okay, but more of strengthening and giving more ideas to support the teachers, build their capacity as we move forward. Number two, I sympathize with the private proprietors, private teachers, and the private school. I share their misery. Indeed, it is true, it's a difficult moment, yet we appreciate their role and the contribution they are giving in terms of training the children of Uganda. We've always discussed this and will continue to discuss, most especially with those who are willing to support our private proprietors. That is my message, and let's continue to discuss and now drum the message to our children. Come back to school and achieve your dream. Thank you.
All right. Would like to thank you very much for being a part of the show, but a special thank you to our panelists, Dr. Honorable Joyce Kaduchu Moriku, State Minister for Education in charge of primary health care, the Honorable Richard Sevamala from Bukoto Central, Mr. Christopher.
Doctor is my friend.
Doctor is your friend. Even if you had a bit of argument on the show today.
Normal.
No, that's okay.
Positive criticism.
Like she said it. Mr. Christopher Mugwanya, who is a proprietor and also an educationist, a primary school teacher. It's good to have primary school teachers in a discussion like this. Unfortunately, we've been leaving you out of many of these. But we're glad that you've joined us for the discussion today. And Dr. Mary Goretti Nakabugo from Uwezo would like to thank you all for contributing to the conversation, the big debate today. Those who are following us, whether it was on air or online, would like to thank you for being a part of the big debate. We return next week with another discussion. But the responsibility to give a quality education to Ugandans is a shared responsibility. Yes, the government leads, but it is a responsibility that all of us should take on so that our students can progress and, contribute to the growth and development of this country. As we leave for tonight, remember that the programming here on SEETV continues. Tomorrow at 6 a.m., Sunrise on SEETV. So make sure that you join us. But I'll be back with you next week, same time, same place. From me and our guests, it's a good night. God bless you. Stay tuned. Don't blink.